Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Jeremy Adrian here. Welcome back to the channel. We have another World of Warcraft video here for you today, and we're going to be talking about classic servers, nostalgia servers, and of course the WoW Classic, the official vanilla server that Blizzard's going to be putting out who knows when, but it has already been announced, and we'll go through all of that stuff with somebody who knows a lot about classic and vanilla servers, and that's TomThreeKings, who I am talking to today. Hello, Tom. How you doing, man?
Merry do me hearties. How y'all doing? Thanks for having me, Adrian.
No problem, man. That always gets me. Merry do me hearty. That's Tom Bombadil from The Lord of the Rings, for those that don't know.
Just another coin in the wishing well.
Yeah. Alrighty, so I just got off doing the second roundtable, community discussion roundtable for World of Warcraft, and we were talking about, Battle for Azeroth is coming, and by the time you guys watch this, it should be very, very close, y'all. So the same thing as I asked Arvin Cat in that video, I'm just going to throw in Tom, ask him what he's been doing as well in game, preparing for BFA. Tom was supposed to be on that roundtable with us, but unfortunately, unfortunate. We couldn't get it to happen. So what have you been up to in World of Warcraft, Tom, and how have you been preparing for the Battle for Azeroth expansion?
I've been preparing very poorly, actually. I've been trying to get the last piece of the Lawbringer transmog from Molten Core. For me, I haven't been selling any of my Legion mats. I've been just kind of waiting around for the pre-patch. When the pre-patch came out this week, it was cool to log in and see all the stats squished down and see our item levels a lot lower, check out talents and war mode and stuff like that. But none of the quests were in yet, but those come out tomorrow. So I will be on tomorrow checking out all the BFA pre-quest lore, just getting excited for everything. But yeah, not much. Logging in every 3 days once Molten Core resets to farm transmogs.
You're big on transmogs? Like, what's your collection like? Have you done at least like 50% of the transmogs in WoW, or is that such a far away goal? Like, how do players react to that? Like, for me, transmogs are great because I love cosmetics, and in World of Warcraft, the system that they built with skins and transmog, it's set up to almost feel like an achievement progression thing in itself, where hey, you want to look awesome with armors and stuff like that, you gotta do these achievements. And it's great, like we were talking, that all the old stuff, all the old raids and stuff can be sort of soloed now to get some transmogs and skins. But yeah, where are you at with that? Like, are you planning to go all out, or do you have like a list of all the transmogs that you want and you're just ticking them off, whenever you get the chance?
More or less. There's two sets that I'm trying to complete really badly. One is the Lawbringer from Molten Core, and one is the red Lawbringer reskin, which is like a tier 2.5 set from Burning Crusade that isn't actually listed in the sets. Because some of you guys probably already know, but in World of Warcraft, you can go to your appearances tab and click on sets and see all of the dungeon and tier PvP sets since vanilla for your class. That are still in the game, of course, and you can like unlock them, get different achievements for them. Besides those two skins, I do want to collect all the different tier sets, the different PvP sets. But I'm working on building Hand of Ragnaros, which is the original legendary from vanilla. It's the hammer that you build with sulfuran ingots and dark iron ore, and it drops in there. And it's a really old school mace, but you can't transmog it or anything, but I just want to run around with it and carry it. So
for pride's sake, so that everybody in vanilla will look at that and like, this guy's been way back.
I'd love to pretend that Warcraft for me is about I mean, it is about having fun with other people, but a big part of Warcraft for me is looking good. Right. And going, riding around on my favorite mount with my favorite gear and showing off what you got. My biggest far out there goal though is to get I believe it requires 2,500 rated battleground arena rated battleground rating, and that's really hard to achieve. But that unlocks the original Grand Marshal armor from vanilla, which you could only get in vanilla if you were rank 14 or rank 13.
Wow.
So that's way down the road, though. I got to find a really good PvP team in BFA and push it out. But
right.
Mostly just want that Lawbringer set. Can you tell I'm a vanilla junkie?
Yep. and we will explore that really, really soon. Like, PvP is something that I want to get into. It's just that now my focus is so much on getting my characters up to speed in terms of PvE, and now with BFA coming out, I'm gonna have to finish that first and see everything, and then start jumping into PvP, because I seem to have problems. Like, this is not from a review or a YouTube perspective or whatever. This is from a personal MMO player perspective. Like, I cannot juggle the two. I need to be I need to have my PvE wrapped up before I jump into PvP for like a long haul to achieve something. That's the same. That's happened to me in Lotro. That's happened to me in Guild Wars 2, and now I think WoW is going to be the same thing for me as well. I'm like not. Yeah, I'm not well versed in terms of the skins and transmogs because I haven't really spent time going through what looks best. But in terms of titles, like, I'm a big title junkie guy. I love having titles like from PvE, and there's one in WoW that I know I want, and I think it's called Off the Alliance, and then the other one's Off the Horde or something. And that's like 100,000 honorable kills or something.
Oh, maybe I don't know what it is. I thought there was maybe one. Oh, you can get of Stormwind or of Darnassus or of Ironforge for getting the Crusader achievement in Ice Crown.
Okay.
And getting exalted with that faction. I think that's what I was thinking of, but of the Alliance for 100,000 honorable kills. I'll help you get that.
In like 5 years.
That's all about the grind, though. Once it's over, we're done.
But the PvP is a totally different grind to PvE, because you're just having so much fun. Like, I was grinding my Lotro PvP title or PvMP title for like 2.5 years, and I did that every day. So I'm no stranger to PvP grinds. I just enjoyed that. You know, when you're doing it with friends, especially, and you've got the community with you, it's really awesome. So we'll see.
Sounds good.
All right, man. So let's talk about what we're here to talk about, and that's basically classic vanilla servers. And just to set the scene, both for existing WoW players, you may already know that World of Warcraft, as an MMORPG that came out 2004, it's had all these years to build up, and where we are now is great in terms of where the game is, how modern World of Warcraft is, but there's always an audience for the classic or the vanilla version of the game. And World of Warcraft, more than any other game out there, has such a demand for vanilla servers. And for existing players, like I said, you already know that, but for new players, know that if you really want to experience like an authentic vanilla or classic experience, you can actually do so now, even before waiting for, you know, the official classic from WoW to come out. And Tom has been playing on a whole bunch of these vanilla servers, so I guess we'll start off with that. Like, what servers have you been playing on, and you know, which ones are the great ones for new players? Or just start off with your introduction into the vanilla servers.
Sure. I ran into Nostalrius originally when it was, for those of you guys that don't know, Nostalrius was kind of one of the original most popular emulation of classic WoW. They had a really huge population. It kind of flew under the radar for a really long time, but it had so many tens of thousands of players after a certain amount of time that Blizzard had the server closed down. Regardless of the politics or wherever they placed the servers or whatever, they were able to reopen those servers under Elysium. And I guess, long story short, I've been kind of hopping around on private servers since then. And currently am playing on the fresh Northdale private server, which is hosted by Lights Hope.
Awesome. And there's so many of these. Like, for new players, you can just do like a quick Google search about, you know, classic servers. And I was just telling Tom earlier, like, wow, there's just so many to pick from. So Lights Hope Northdale is one of the latest ones that's out. That's Tom currently playing on, right?
Yeah, it came out roughly a month ago is when they rolled it out, and everyone started leveling up from one together fresh. So
okay, and I'm just gonna really quickly just read off this website that lists them all. So there's Elysium, Nighthaven, WoW, Atlantida, Chronos WoW, Lights Hope, Lightbringer. There's another server from Lights Hope. There's the Classic WoW. There's the Retro WoW, Nostal Geek, Vanilla Gaming, Australia server, Symmetry WoW, PvE server, Vanilla WoW, Dying Classic, Erlebins, Aus 2016. That's like a German server. And then we've got Covenant WoW as well. So there's a bunch of these, and I'm gonna link this site because it has like all the details. So like, what's the average population like, the language and the rate for XP and all that stuff. So this is really, really interesting, especially for me, somebody who doesn't like I have never tried any of these classic servers, especially for WoW. Like I've jumped into like recently Rift Prime or whatever, but the difference is that's not a vanilla server. It's just a fresh start under the pretense that it is a classic server. It's not. So this is really, really interesting. And I suppose like one of the most common questions that like it's kind of like new players will ask is like, besides just jumping into a classic vanilla server that's run by third parties, like a lot of these are, you know, just to experience what the game was like at an authentic early build, what are the other like benefits, or what can players expect from classic vanilla servers?
Gotcha. To be honest, setting up your computer to play classic WoW right now, the experience for it is kind of lame.
Okay.
What we all really want is we want Blizzard to launch classic servers so that it's properly maintained and under their launcher portal, right? That's what we would like to see. Because at this point, you have to either have an original copy of the game, or you have to obtain a digital copy of the game on your computer, and install an account on their private. You set up an account on their private account, and you have to open up a notepad folder. And you just have to open up a notepad file and just modify it ever so slightly to match the server of the private server you're trying to connect to. So it's a bit of a hoop to jump through for people who are more of just players and not people who generally work behind the scenes of a general game wizard, right, for installing a game. It's just not exactly the easiest thing for someone who's used to sign in and enter world.
Download and play,
you know?
Right, yeah.
Correct, yeah. But once you're in, most of these private servers have amazing forums on their website. You can find a guild before the fresh start servers even come out. That's what I did. Signed up, met some people, got into a Discord. They have a giant Discord for the Alliance, for Horde, lots of different rooms. People are in it. I mean, God, every server is a little bit different, but playing on the Northdale Fresh, once you get in, there's just people everywhere. You can't believe how many people are jumping through these hoops and doing these things behind the scenes just to play the classic game.
Yeah,
and what amazes me too is it's on a server that could potentially be gone, and they'd never have they'd lose their character forever.
Right. So that's
so much time investment.
It's crazy too, because it's kind of this. It's not just these classics, you know, WoW servers like Northdale or whatever. It's just the idea and the concept of jumping into a vanilla server and having to level again. Some of these players may have, I don't know, 50 alts on the live version of the game, but they still crave that vanilla experience. So before I get into the next question, like, all these servers, they are free to play, right? It's just a matter of downloading that server and tweaking the file to get in, but they're all free to play?
Yes, generally they're all free to play. Some have cash shops, and some have aesthetic shops, and some you can spend shops money on services for, like faction change. But usually the most popular servers are free to play, don't have a cash shop, and are 1 times experience and all the other rates Blizz-like, just like Blizzard. Those are the most popular ones. There's, like, you listed on this charts Vanilla Gaming. Mm-hmm. That's a emulation that you can change the XP rate up to 15 times. So you can get your character to 60 in a few days if you wanted to. And it's actually really fun. I did it to get a paladin to 60 really fast to see if I liked the end-game healing perspective of it. And I did. And here I am on a one-time server leveling up a paladin. So it is really fun to have all these different emulations and modified versions of the game to check out. I think for people who, you know, were really into cheat codes and just, you know, theory crafting purposes in general, private servers are a really awesome thing to have around.
You've been playing World of Warcraft since the very beginning, you know, as we talked about in your roundtable. What attracted you to jump back into vanilla servers besides just wanting to see that, re-experience that, I suppose? Is that what made you jump in, or is it just curiosity the first time around? Like what brings you back to classic servers like these?
Yeah. We'll see. I'm 24 years old now. When I started playing WoW, I was about 10 or 11. And I was awful. I had a gnome warrior, and I think I may have mentioned this in the previous video, but I couldn't get him to level 60. I couldn't get the right stats on him, and I was awful. And I didn't know vanilla private servers existed. So when someone in Warlords of Draenor time had told me about Nostalrius, I just Googled it and saw on their website all these pictures of people doing Molten Core and Onyxia and all these things, and I'm like, oh, I never got to do any of this stuff.
Right.
And so I made a character, and I didn't really get too far with the first few characters, but a friend and I in real life leveled up Toons on a fresh server recently. That was last year. And I have a level 60 shaman now. I got to do my first 1 to 60 full experience. I did it in 14 days played, and it was tremendously fun. Very fun. Did tons of raiding, PvP, and I was just like, I got to do this again.
Awesome. Like that's really cool to hear. I mean, I understand that perspective a lot. You know, and for me personally, I'm in that boat, dude. I didn't play WoW vanilla. And I've known about vanilla servers for quite some time, because you do see, you know, gaming media like PC Gamer, IGN reporting about these servers, and, you know, people doing extraordinary things or being able to relieve some of these things. I mean, granted, Blizzard does take issue with these, but it's still... It's an avenue for players that kind of missed out on, you know, what a lot of players will say are the glory years of World of Warcraft, to go back and relive that stuff. At the same time, I mean, that's just one perspective of in my head why it's pretty popular with a lot of players. But then again, I guess there's two sides of the coin there. There's one, the community that's playing private servers. These are players that have never got to experience vanilla, so this is, you know, their chance to go back and check it out. And this is taking into consideration before WoW Classic comes out, right? And two are players that just miss or they don't like the current state of WoW Live, the live version, so they'd rather just stick to, you know, the earlier iteration of the game. So that's how I perceive the community to be made up of. Is that the case?
It almost seems like everybody who play, I don't want to say everybody, but it almost seems like a majority of the players who play on vanilla private servers still have an active retail account and are still paying their subscription.
Right.
I'll say this, and I might get attacked, but I think that most people would go to vanilla, but if BFA stopped and then BFA never expanded and the game closed and we just went to vanilla after that, people would get bored. I think people love having the retail game and vanilla
options, choices. Gotcha.
Yeah. I think everyone wants to plug back in and see what new polished WoW looks like, and see what the new expansions are like, and check out new raids. And everyone likes Mythic Plus and arenas; those will always be popular. But
right.
I think that I think that WoW players are WoW players, and they want to do both.
Yeah.
And that's me for sure. I want to do both. I want to have both, and I'm happy to pay for both too.
If I was given the option, you know, to jump, have a live version of the game and then a classic version of the game that's official from the developers, I would love to you know, have Toons on both and just relive the experience, because it's an experience that I would love to have again. Now I'm gonna play kind of like the devil's advocate here for both World of Warcraft and for other games out there when it comes to classic servers like these. Never mind whether it's official or whether it's third party. I said this in my Rift Prime review. The idea of going back to the start again has a couple of different, I wouldn't call them issues, but things to consider. The first is, and this is word for word my Rift Prime review, like I don't think games can capture magic like they did when it first launched. Like, that vanilla magic is, if you weren't there at vanilla to experience the atmosphere and the player base and you know, the events that were going on at that time when the technology was what you see in game, then I think you've missed it for good. And when you jump back into classic servers like this, you see what it is, and it's like, oh, okay, cool, and then you do the leveling up, and okay, so that's what it was about, and then you kind of just stop. So, like, from the devil's advocate point of view, like, I have reservations about that, because having leveled the live version of, you know, the earlier areas, like from 1 to 60 and going to TBC and everything, stuff like quest design was, when you compare what the questing design was at the vanilla on the live, and then you go up to like Legion is, obviously for me, I generally prefer where World of Warcraft is at right now, because it's more convenient. Questing design is superb. It's like the, you know, creme de la creme for MMOs, and you just have that bar of expectation now when it comes to you know, doing that. So when you go back to classic servers like these, and then you realize that, oh, the systems were designed for 2014 and it's meant to be played 2014, where people don't moan and bitch about questing and the traveling and how killing 20 murlocs doesn't drop the item that you need for the quest. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of on the fence about that experience. Needless to say, I will try a classic server, but you know, looking at it from both sides of the coin, I really don't think that servers like these can capture magic, that you know, essence of launching lightning in a bottle, essentially. I don't know. What do you think? You've jumped into a few right now. Did you? I mean, okay. You know,
I was typing some stuff while you were talking because I wanted to make sure I had good response for you there.
Yeah, go ahead.
So for a person like you, who I watch a lot of your streams and you read a lot of the quests and you divulge a lot of the information, yeah, you might run into some parts of WoW where you're like, wow, really? I'm killing 90 Panthers in a row? This is the most boring quest I've ever done. Because there is genuinely a quest in Stranglethorn where you kill 30 Panthers,
been there,
30 higher tier. Yep. I think in retail it's only 10 per tier now, but in vanilla it's 30 per tier and then the boss. And the boss is an elite and you can't solo him. So you basically kill like 460 beasts or whatever. The token to vanilla that I've noticed, it has a lot of what I consider like quest crafting players. And what I mean by that is they like to pick leveling routes, and they treat leveling more like a roadblock, and they treat it more like essentially a grind bar, you know, kind of what it is, but they treat it more like which quests are the most effective, which ones grant the most XP, which dungeons have the most quests and are even worth doing, and which zones will keep me further away from PvP or closer to PvP, depending on if you're a rogue or a hunter and you want to beat the crap out of the other faction. Excuse me, I had a burp there. But since 2004, WoW didn't have... let me back up a step. Private servers right now mostly have a tool implemented called dynamic respawn. And what that does is if there's 30 people in a zone smacking on wolves, the game has a way to recognize that there's a certain amount of congestion there and a certain amount of wolves in that area are dying. Therefore, they'll respawn faster. So
cool.
That's not Blizz-like, and that takes away from the authentic effect of the game. It's really good to cater to 5,000 to 10,000 new players, especially when they're all stuffed into one zone on a fresh server.
Right.
It helps move things along and people can grind, but it takes away from the authentic experience because I was hitting bandits and having them instantly respawn for me, so I had a new mob every second to kill. So I leveled way faster than I normally would in vanilla. You know, so while there are characters like you who really enjoy the quest design, there's a bunch of other people who play vanilla and treat leveling like it's their long haul, and they're trying to kind of theory craft their way through the most effective route or the best route to get the best gear or accomplish the most honorable kills while leveling up. There's more to PvE than that in vanilla. It's balancing time and fear of the opposite faction, because once you hit 30, Stranglethorn Vale is a highly effective XP zone, but they don't call it Stranglethorn Vietnam for nothing. It is absolutely hell, and in vanilla you will get ganked, and you will get ganked again and again. So my leveling route, I only stop in Stranglethorn Vale for a level or two, because I don't put up with it for that much longer. So I think you will get potentially burnt out on kill 30 Panthers, but once you get to Darkshire and start the Legend of Stalvin quest, and you're tracking down different... I won't share too much of the information, but once you're basically tracking down the story of a man who went missing and he's presumably dead, it has a really very cool ending, and I think moments like that will captivate you and captivate your stream. Right. And I think they'll pull you back in. I think there were some really good kill quest designers for vanilla, and then there were some really good lore quest designers. So yeah, that's a long-winded answer, I guess, but I think you'll get burnt out on some and push forward.
That's a great input in a sense that, you know, coming into this, and just generally from being somebody who makes MMO content and sharing my opinions, the reason I started stuff like the roundtables is because I get to hear different perspectives, and that's why this is great for me. Because you mentioned there that, you know, there's a lot of people here that take questing as a roadblock, as you say, and they're not necessarily thinking about the things that I am thinking when I'm playing our leveling character. For me, I want a narrative experience taking me to the end game, because that's how I get immersed. That's me. You know, but on vanilla, like, you got a lot of other people doing exactly what Tom says, you know, finding the best, you know, road to leveling, because for a lot of people, it's the leveling that is the best part about the MMO, you know, and for them to maximize the experience in terms of which quests, which zones, and which clusters do I want to do. Not so much the story and everything, not necessarily anymore, because they've done it maybe 100 times over on live, you know, so there's a lot of different types of MMO players out there, and I classic and vanilla WoW private servers like these are just another avenue for them to experience that. So that's pretty cool. That's good to know.
Yeah. Another cool example, I won't make it as long as before, but a level 20 paladin quest in vanilla, you accomplish a couple things in the local area and they give you a shield, and that's pretty cool. But the second leg of the quest is to have someone craft a big mace for you. And you don't have a horse at this level. You really can't get to the other continent very easily. You pretty much run all over both continents collecting materials from different dungeons, and it requires help from other people, and other paladins need it. So you end up getting help from other paladins, and the narrative was awesome. And I got to learn about what was going into my mace, and I'm still using my mace, and I put an enchant on it. And some of the class identity quests are really good for that character immersion. And I will say that some classes got a little bit better work on them. Paladins have awesome story, awesome story. Same with warriors; they get cool gear at level 10, level 30. They get an amazing axe after a brutally long quest. But they connect you to your character and your journey.
And that's actually another good point, dude, because on servers like these, you know, taking you back to a time then, you know, you mentioned like quests needing help from other players. I suppose more, I mean, on live right now, it's so easy to group up with other players. You know, you've got the LFG tool, you've got the LFR, you know, and the way the phasing works, everything is so seamless, like we've mentioned before. But on servers like, you know, classic like these, you rely on the community a lot more. Is that true, or just because the content asks for it in some way, and also because, you know, now that it's vanilla, you know, leveling is slower and all this stuff, so it's actually more beneficial to, you know, consciously and proactively get together and quest together and help each other out of the same faction and whatever, and for PvP as well. Is that true on these classic servers?
You have to rely on the community. Yeah, okay. There's no way for me to accomplish that quest unless I get help. Realistically, I needed a group of 4, but I got like a level 38 paladin to help me do the last 2 hard parts. So if I didn't have other paladins leveling up, you know, I spent most of the day in looking for group trying to find someone for it, because it's a very particular quest that only a paladin might do. Right. You know? So I had to find someone for it, you know, and I know everybody goes into this and there's a lot to be said for it, but there is not looking for raid in vanilla. And the raids are 40 man. You have to get a guild and get with 39 other people and get established and get gear and accomplish it in voice chat. That's just the truth. I mean, those you can pug Molten Core. A lot of players know how to do it now, but once Classic comes out and people are learning, we're all going to be back in voice chat, telling people why they need fire resistance, telling people why they need hit chance. You know, everyone's going to need to learn again. Those tools don't exist. You have to talk to people. It kind of sucks at times, you know. I was like, "Fuck, am I going to be able to get a party for this quest? Am I going to miss out on Verrigan's Fist if I don't keep questing? I'm kind of hanging back, you know. If I out level it, then it's not worth it, you know. But you know, you spend the time in the game. Try not to let your anxiety overturn your, like, oh, I don't have a high XP per hour right now or whatever, you know. Go out and enjoy the quest. Enjoy your time looking for other paladins to conquer Shadowfang Keep with, because that's the experience, you know. I want to be level 60, of course. You know, I want to raid, but I'm trying to remember that every time I'm in a group, doing something with people and having fun. That is the experience right there. That's it. That's why I play the game. So I got to enjoy that moment right there, take a screenshot of it and put it in my favorites folder, because that's why I do it, because I struggle with the lack of communication in other retail MMOs right now.
Right.
And that's something I jump into a group and I say, yo, what quest do you have? Do you need this one? Oh, I need a heal real quick. Oh, can you toss me this buff? These are things we need. We need each other in Classic. And yeah, I would say that's one of the biggest things about it, man. Yeah, there just wasn't a lot of like easy grouping implementation in yet. So you had to seek out community. Very
retro feel. And I don't know. I see so much that I'm like a sponge just waiting to explode or whatever. But it seems like I go with the times, as MMOs get more antisocial, less reliant on community, I'm okay with it. And even when I started way back when, Lotro, it was very heavily community focused with the end game, and I was okay with it. So I'm not looking at both ends thinking which one do I prefer more. I just keep up with the times and adapt, I suppose. But classic servers like this would really, I suppose, emphasize on the MMO factor, that massively multiplayer online factor in that regard, which I think could be sort of like a pro point or an attraction for any new player, not necessarily new to WoW, but new to MMOs and stuff like this. And it doesn't have to be WoW. You can go back and play emulators for some of the other MMOs that are maybe even shut down. Like I think there's a Star Wars Galaxies one out there, right? And a whole bunch of other MMOs that you can go in and experience what for the time that it was created, and what the designs were like, what the community was like, how grouping worked way back then as opposed to how grouping in MMOs work today, because it's a hell lot different. So that's some really interesting pros, I suppose, for vanilla servers. And the cons, I think we've already kind of gone through some of that stuff in terms of the tech and the designs, and that's really going to be subjective to you and how you enjoy, especially in this case, your World of Warcraft vanilla experience. So is it safe to say that you're spending more time on vanilla servers now rather than live version?
Yeah, that as goes the mind of Tom. I pretty much never stay centered on one thing. I bounce around between MMOs all the time. It doesn't help that I follow people like you who try a new game every week, and I'm like, oh, me too, But
it's unhealthy.
Yeah, I'm spending more time on vanilla. Just in the past few weeks, though, I was on every day farming transmogs and in WoW for the past few months. But when I heard Northdale Fresh was coming out, I was like, I don't really know when Classic's coming out. I kind of want to do it again.
Right.
So it sucked me in.
In total, like, how many vanilla servers have you leveled on, like, to date?
I've probably leveled on, like, 8 or 9, but I've only leveled to 60 in one of them. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Well, okay, not vanilla servers. I'd say probably 5 or 6 vanilla servers and a couple BC and Wrath of Lich King servers.
Oh, so there are servers for expansions too. Of course, there would be, because it's.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. There are Mists of Pandaria servers. There are Legion servers. There are custom Cataclysm servers. There are servers that are level 250 with custom classes and stats.
Whoa, that sounds interesting.
Wow,
where do people get the code for this? Where do they get this stuff?
I'll drop some comments in the YouTube video. I have a link for a Reddit private server list, and I'll drop the link for the custom 250 custom statless and classless server, because there's some guys who've done some amazing reviews on them too, and they've made like hybrid rogue paladins or hunter priests, like amazing things on those servers. Really cool stuff.
That's, in a way, that sounds really cool, and you kind of think about, World of Warcraft will never go down that direction, because it's like, you will never see like a classless leveling system in WoW, whatever. It's just not gonna happen. So this is some interesting stuff, and touchy question here, but is all this stuff legal or not? It's not, right?
It's not legal. There's a really good chance that if you're torrenting a game, that you might get a notice from your ISP as well. And I honestly genuinely believe you should do this. Buy the classic copy of the game with your money. You paid for it at one point. If you don't still have it, pay for it again. If you want to play vanilla, it's probably $40 on Amazon.
So that means.
But at that point, you own the copy of the game, and at that point, I'm not sure on the legality of connecting to a privately hosted server, but I've been doing it for a long time and never had any problems with it other than the torrenting.
Okay, so for any like potential new players that want to jump into these classics, so you would recommend getting a second WoW account that has the base game in order to jump into these servers in case anything happens. Is that what you're saying?
I think you owe it to Blizzard to buy a hard copy of the game. I know the community of the internet is popular to just torrent a game. But I purchased the hard copy of the game of Star Wars Galaxies to play on the private server, and I still have my WoW Classic copy, and that's how I'm playing. I know that it was a little bit different than torrenting a client and setting it up. I had to do something a little bit different, but at least at that point, you own the game and you can feel comfortable about what you're connecting to because it's you own it. Star Wars Galaxies private servers and EverQuest private servers, they won't let you play the game unless you buy it.
Right.
It's because they have control over it.
Yeah, but those are official. Yeah, I was gonna say that. Yeah.
Well, Galaxies isn't. The
Galaxies
devs have a way to tell if your files are torrented, and I wish that Vanilla would do that, but it's okay. That's kind of the culture of the internet, and to each their own. But
right.
But you'll also like having a classic copy of WoW sitting on your desk. You can fold it open, look at the dwarf beating the crap out of the Yeti with the Tibu's blazing longsword, the sword that will never drop in vanilla ever.
See, I've got nothing like that to hold on to. Like I have a box copy, but that's for the battle chest that I bought like years ago. But that was for the RTS, But inside that battle chest was a little like cardboard envelope saying "Welcome to World of Warcraft. This is your 7 or 14-day trial." I still keep that, by the way, because
that's cool.
As a high school kid, I'm like looking at that. Yep, that's what I want to play, But I never got the money, so I ended up in Lord of the Rings.
You know what though?
Yeah,
it worked out better this way. Honestly, I think having your first MMO be Lotro set you up to be an awesome game player because Lotro is so awesome, and I don't know. Everybody started on WoW. Everybody has the same precedent. I think your setup is cool. I think the way you got to look at games was cool.
My setup is just like, well, I guess it's different because the first guild that or the first kinship, which is a guild on Lotro I joined, were made up of former WoW players. You keep hearing all these stories about WoW, so I just could not escape World of Warcraft. Whatever I did in my gaming life, that is, when it comes to MMOs, wherever I went to, you cannot escape World of Warcraft. So for me, having never played it until December, you had to keep that voice in your head for so long. I had to keep it for like 7 years, just, okay, I'm going to get to it eventually, and then just sometime last year, I'm like, fuck it, let's do it, and I'm glad to have finally had that World of Warcraft experience, and I can honestly say this is, if I were to I'd said this on the roundtable already, like, this will be my sub game for quite some time, unless Ashes of Creations really brings it, then, we'll have to see about that, so.
That game looks great, man.
Looks can be deceiving, and it's crowdfunded, so we wouldn't really know. But that's what people like you and me are here for. We're gonna go in, jump in, and tell people whether it's worth the sub or not. So, question for you now about classic servers in general, or especially WoW Classic. So we know it's coming, as we've said many times. We don't know the exact date. We do know what build it's going to be using. I think it's 1.12. I think it is, right? And I think a lot of the other 112.1, and I think a lot of the other classic servers, well, not a lot, but some of them, now that they know that Blizzard's going to be using that, I think some of them are kind of popping up. Based on what that already exists in a lot of these third-party private servers for WoW, what are you expecting from the official WoW Classic? What does WoW Classic needs to do to make a lot of the players on these third-party private servers go, okay, you know what? I think Blizzard's got the better version of Classic. I think we're just going to go play that instead. What has WoW Classic got to bring to the table that these third-party servers don't already offer?
I think I'll try not to get into it too much, but what sets apart a lot of these private servers from each other and sets apart them from the Blizz-like actual live retail vanilla is the coding and scripting. I'm not a developer. I don't know anything about this, so I'll do my best to just be vague. But for example, if you're on a private server and you're fighting a creature and you like backpedal around a tree or something, and he does a weird pathing route and runs weird and aggroes another mob, the pathing is wrong. you know, something is incorrect, and that messes with your experience. And people pay really close attention to that. Another example is if spells are proccing correctly. You know, Reckoning is supposed to fire off an instant auto attack, but which means, for example, if you have a 3-second swing timer and in the middle of it you get a Reckoning proc, you should get a hit and then get another hit by the time that 3 seconds is over. But what it does on private servers is it just resets your swing timer. So you're actually missing out on like one attack for half a second. Okay. And that's something that bothers a lot of high-end paladins on the Lights Hope, Elysium servers, because no one's been able to do that right. And once streamers are showing on Twitch that Classic WoW is incredibly scripted Blizz-like, if they pull that off, it's going to pull everybody in. It's going to pull everybody in. Everyone wants correct pathing, not crazy dynamic respawns. Everyone wants accurate XP drops. They want the original talent system. And I just think that behind the scenes, a lot of the fine-tunings on damage numbers, spell procs, pathing, you know, those things are not tuned correctly. I played a Burning Crusade server one time, and these succubus in Terracar Forest were like four-shotting me. And everyone on the server was crazy about it. They're like, we're skipping this quest because these succubuses are not tuned right. That's like it was one creature's pet, and it would just beat you to death, and no one could do the quest. And it was because the numbers were not tuned correctly on them. And, you know, these games are privately hosted. None of these, I mean, I think there are some former Blizzard devs out there who work on private stuff, but for the most part, these are people who are researching and looking at source code and making their best speculations.
Right.
You know, and trying to piece this all together based on how they remember vanilla, and depending on how hard they work, you know, they might research other stat videos and watch things and make sure the numbers are reflective. But also, you know, the original research was done in 2004 and it's owned by Blizzard. Yep. The core and the source code is released, but you know, all of that behind the scenes tuning is professionally done. And I think that once they balance out all those tweaks, I don't think it'll be accurate at first. I really don't. I don't think anyone who still works at Blizzard even remembers what vanilla was hardly like either. That's why they're hiring a bunch of people. But I think once they have it all tuned right, it's just going to be it's just going to outshine the private servers, and especially because you'll have the stability of the server being up. You won't get disconnected when you're in the middle of a raid. Those kinds of things happen on private servers.
Yeah, I could imagine, and I guess that's basically it. I suppose what Blizzard would bring to the table really is that stability, as you said, and the support as well, in terms of, you know, keeping players happy or just managing the server in a way that MMORPG servers should be managed, keeping the game up with, you know, uptime. And so I guess that's that, you know, because all these third-party servers are going to be free, and Blizzard, obviously, which I'm sure they will do, is just charge for the server, or at best make it inclusive of the sub that you're currently paying for. That would be a dream. But if there's an additional charge to it, like maybe $10 a pop to get in or something like that, I guess I wouldn't mind. You know, just to get my feet wet and just experience that, I suppose. I
think if they make Classic WoW an independent cost from retail, they'll get a lot more private server players. Like you said, if it is more, if they are solidified on it being more than what we're paying now, the 15 or 13, depending on what package you buy, is if they make it separate, like you can pay $8 or $10 a month for Classic, they'll get a lot more Classic only people.
Right.
But that might not be what they want from a business standpoint. They might want people to interchangeably go between retail and Classic really easily without having to modify their payment plan.
That'll be a real advantage to Blizzard, real advantage, because it keeps everybody within that ecosystem as long as they're still paying for the sub, essentially. And it's also a double-edged kind of sword, because the more people that play on these servers, I think the more that Blizzard's going to have to expand the Classic team as well. And the thing that I really struggled to come to terms with, even when I was playing Prime, was like, see, the thing with Prime for Rift, their fresh start server, it's going to end in 1 year. And then when you look at Saga of Zath, yeah. What's up?
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Do the characters copy over?
I'm not sure. I don't think
to
so.
live?
Probably will, because it just feels kind of shitty if you just lose that. Yeah, so probably they will. And the same thing with Age of Conan as well, Saga of Zath. That was a 5-month server and then gone, and then your character's transferred over to live Crom. So with World of Warcraft, I mean, I'm still trying to figure out how this will work, because I don't know of an official classic or vanilla type server that has been going on for a long time. What happens when the classic servers eventually catch up, if it catches up to live? What happens then? You know, or is it never going to, because it has to be capped?
So here's the thing. Elysium has talked about doing a copy system, which would mean they have the vanilla servers, and at a certain point you can copy your tune to a new Fresh Start Burning Crusade server and quest with your level 60 up through the 70 progression.
Okay.
They've talked about doing it, and it hasn't been done yet. The only people that I'm aware of doing it, that I'm aware of it being done, time lock progression servers through expansions, is EverQuest. They do it yearly, and they rotate through the different game expansions and different sections, and there's quite a consistent following for it. I think, excuse me, I think that if Blizzard, by the time vanilla starts to die out on the classic servers, if they announce the ability to copy to a Burning Crusade progression, I think they'll have the longevity to run this thing out through Cataclysm. Maybe further. Depends on what expansion's out by the time you get there, but Blizzard doesn't have anything to lose here, because they already own these games, and the better they get, once they figure out how to retune vanilla, they'll know how to retune TBC, they'll know how to do all these, and I think they're just going to do a retro thing. I think they're going to at least go up to Wrath of the Lich King throughout the next half decade if their business still stays successful.
Oh gosh, it should stay successful.
I think so, but you just never know when an era will end.
Hey, that's about 10 or so million players looking for a new home. That's crazy.
That's right. Yeah, Guild Wars and ESO will get real big at that day, on that day.
I doubt it. Those that are playing WoW right now, I don't want to generalize people or whatever. For classic features, the official classic features, would you like to see? I'm just throwing things out there because I generally want to know what else people are expecting from the official WoW Classic, to have. Would you like to see the ability to transfer classic servers to the live version of the game? It's a one-way trip.
No. I want it to be its own thing. I want this to be the first time Classic is released. I want us to be all done with our emulated tunes, and I want us to start up our Classic accounts and have new ones. But I definitely don't want my private server accounts to go away.
Gotcha.
I want them all implemented into that website I was talking to you about.
Gotcha. Would you want to see exclusive rewards like titles and skins that you can earn by playing Classic to be claimed on live? Would that be appealing, or would that not be appealing?
So you said if you earn on Classic to be available on the retail?
So yeah, for example, Blizzard could have this leveling event, or if you complete a certain raid or whatever, then you unlock a unique title or transmog to be used on live. For the achievement of having done this on WoW Classic.
Yeah, I would love that. I would love account-wide titles. Like if you got, if you say you're still playing Classic, or you're playing retail WoW 2 years from now and Classic WoW, and you finally beat Naxxramas, which is the hardest vanilla raid. You finally beat that. If you got Naxxramas Conqueror on your retail tunes as a title, that'd be the coolest thing ever. I would love that. Because then you would have ability to show that you do things in vanilla, but I wouldn't like it the other way around.
Yeah.
I wouldn't like you to have retail titles in vanilla, but if you could show off your vanilla titles in retail, that'd be cool. I would like that, actually.
Yeah, I mean that's a thing that a lot of the from all the progression servers that I've played this year, like they all have that. You know, that's the carrot on the stick for you to jump into these servers, and then you can take back your loot and your titles and your skins back to the live versions. Hey, I was there when I did this, so that could be pretty cool. And that's all the stuff that I had to ask, man, about vanilla WoW private servers and about WoW Classic. So just once again, in general, you know, for new players wondering what's the best vanilla WoW private server in your opinion to play on while waiting for Classic, if you had to recommend a couple, what would it be?
I would say if you want a lower populated server, maybe try Chronos 2 or Chronos 3. If you want to just have a little more space and not have to fight as many people for mobs, those ones that are a little smaller. If you want to check out vanilla endgame really quickly and check out theory crafting and progression, try Vanilla Gaming. You can vote for their website to be one of the oldest vanilla gaming servers, because that's true. And they'll give you 100 gold every few days, so you can go out and buy best in slot gear and get raiding with people within a week.
That's cool.
If you want a true Blizz-like overpopulated experience, hop into Northdale right now. My character's name is Tom, T-A-U-M. I'm on the Alliance. Send me a tell if you have any questions. I'll help you out. I really like Northdale. If you can handle the congestion and fighting for creatures, I suggest you going there. And
it's a PvP server too, right?
Yeah, it is. Awesome. So you'll be ganked.
That's cool. Yeah, so that wraps up my portion, really. Anything you want to add about private servers or WoW Classic?
Long live Blizzard, Classic or retail. I'm really thankful as a consumer to see that they responded to how many thousands of people wanted Classic. And whenever it comes out, I'm going to be patient and happy for it. And I think we should all be patient and happy for it too, so that we get the legit, accurate game when it comes out. So look forward to seeing you guys all in BFA and in Classic.
Hell yeah, awesome. All right, and that's it from us. If you want to catch Tom streaming some World of Warcraft, either BFA coming up or Classic, I'm gonna link his Twitch in the description box below, so you can go follow him and check him out. Other than that, Tom, thanks so much for being on and talking about WoW, man. Always a pleasure, dude.
Pleasure's all mine. Thanks for having me.
No worries, man. And that wraps up our World of Warcraft private server vanilla classic discussion. Hope this has been pretty entertaining and hopefully informative as well for all you new players out there wondering why is private servers or classic servers such a big thing, especially for WoW, and now that Classic's coming out. Hopefully me and Tom is the things that we talked about will give you some insight about what this is all about. So feel free to hit the like button if you enjoyed this discussion and want to see more for more topics or more games down the line, and of course subscribe to the YouTube channel for more reviews, discussion, live streams, and all that good stuff. Once again, I'm Adrian, and I thank you for watching. Roses are red, violets are blue. If you want to watch more videos, click on these cards. Anyone would do. And if you want to watch more videos, subscribe to the channel with the button down here. I know you want to.